Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. In my last explainer, you saw how an AI city evolves in 24 hours. But today, we're raising the stakes. I'm pitting two different AI models, ChatGPT and Gemini, against each other for control of one city. We're going to see who makes the better decisions when the heat is absolutely on. Which model will thrive? Which model will completely collapse? Let's find out. We're looking at a true side-by-side showdown here. Both models are initializing simultaneously, and we're tracking their progress over a strict 24-hour period. We need to find out which of these AIs will thrive under intense pressure and, well, which one cracks. And we aren't just looking at the final score. We're going to unpack the exact moment-to-moment decisions that literally mean life or death for their digital citizens. Section 1. Rules of the game. Before the clock starts ticking, let's establish the exact high-pressure parameters of this simulation experiment. We have built an absolute pressure cooker for these models. Both have been placed in the exact same environment: limited budget, rising population, and unexpected disasters. They have exactly 24 hours to prove their superiority. But here is the real game changer in our setup. I've enabled proof of action logs for both, so you can see every single decision in real time. We aren't just seeing the results, we're tracking their raw, underlying logic. Section 2. The first 12 hours. With the rule set, the clock starts. Let's dive right into the chaos of the simulation's first half and see how quickly their strategies diverge. I want you to keep this 24-hour timeline in the back of your mind as we go, because early choices in this simulation rapidly compound into massive consequences as time runs out. We begin at hour 0, hit our first major divergence at hour 6, a huge shock at hour 12, a massive crisis at hour 20, and finally the finish line at hour 24. Notice how quickly their fundamental philosophies split. Hour 6, ChatGPT has raised taxes right out of the gate to heavily fund and fortify city infrastructure. It's a highly conservative route. Meanwhile, Gemini takes a completely different, almost optimistic path. It's investing in public parks and focusing entirely on boosting the economy while keeping taxes steady. Two wildly different approaches just a quarter of the way through the simulation. But then, the honeymoon phase ends. Hour 12. A sudden, massive power failure hits both cities identically. Watch how ChatGPT solves it versus Gemini's approach. Because ChatGPT already heavily fortified its infrastructure through those early tax hikes, it navigates the blackout smoothly. But Gemini seems to be struggling a bit here. That early focus on parks left a vulnerability in the grid, causing an immediate dip in its city stability. Section 3. The breaking point. That power failure was just a warning shot. As we move into the final stretch, the real pressure cooker happens, pushing both AI models to their absolute limits. Hour 20. This is the ultimate test. A severe research shortage hits and the population is crashing in both cities, simultaneously. I mean, citizens are literally packing up and abandoning the simulation. Everything they've built over the last 20 hours is suddenly on the brink of total, terrifying collapse. Now, instead of just watching the population metrics plummet, we can use our setup to our advantage. Their decisions here are completely unexpected. Just look at the proof in these logs. We aren't guessing why they did what they did. The proof of action logs show us their exact, frantic computational thought processes as they scramble to save their cities. Analyzing these logs reveals a really stark contrast. ChatGPT's logic is a cold, calculating triage. It immediately starts rationing resources, cutting off non-essential services to guarantee survival for the core population, basically accepting a moderate loss to stabilize the whole. Gemini, however, is taking wild, sweeping bets. It attempts rapid economic policy changes, trying to incentivize citizens to stay, burning through its remaining budget in a desperate bid to reverse the dream immediately. They are frantically scrambling, but in totally opposite directions. Section 4. Final results and verdict. The countdown is finished. The 24 hours are up. The dust has settled on both simulated cities. So let's look at the hard data to see who actually survived this intense showdown. The final metrics map out two very distinct outcomes. ChatGPT maintained a steady, if slightly lower, baseline of happiness while retaining a solid chunk of its population through the crises. Gemini, though, shows massive spikes and valleys, much higher peaks of happiness early on, but the final population numbers reflect the massive toll that the hour 20 resource crash took on its infrastructure. The final standing proves that ChatGPT's city is stable, but growth is incredibly slow. It survived every disaster intact, even if it wasn't the most glamorous place to live due to high taxes. Gemini, whereas Gemini took big risks, aimed for rapid economic growth, and almost collapsed at the end. So who won? The results are right here. This leaves us with a fascinating philosophical and strategic divide. We have one city that is perfectly stable but entirely stagnant, managed by ChatGPT. And we have another city that was wildly ambitious, deeply risky, and nearly burned to the ground, managed by Gemini. Based on everything we've just seen, who do you think did a better job? Which AI model actually made the better decisions? Let me know in the comments.